Okay, hola. So we are now looking at a new topic of media, los medios de comunicación. We'll come on to that later. And often we just refer to it as la tecnologia. Okay, la tecnologia. So you could put a new title in your books, in your big books, in casa, and whatever date you're doing this, it's likely to be martes el 26 de junio. Junio, I don't know why I jumped to June. Enero, January. Okay, so in today's lesson, so this is a double. This video is likely to take you more than the first hour. You're going to be developing vocabulary related to mobile phones. We're going to look at a reading to help us understand not just young people's opinions on phones, but maybe the other side of it, like parents. And then talk about how or why we use the internet, because lots of us use the internet on our phones. Okay. So once you have the date and in casa and so on ready, then let's jump into the lesson. Okay, we're going to start by doing a little Venn diagram to look at some types of technology first of all. So you could just draw two circles on the computer if you're working online, or take a screenshot of this, or in your books you can create it. Don't worry about perfect circles. So this side, this circle is es más para jóvenes, and this one is es más para mayores, So what do these both mean, do you think? Have a pause and have a think, and then obviously what the middle one means. Okay, so this one means it's more for young people, jóvenes. This one means it's more for mayor, means older, so mayores, older people. Then the middle, obviously, then is para ambos, it's for both. So once you've got your Venn diagram ready, let's look at the words we're going to be putting in. So we're answering the question, ¿qué son los aparatos que son más para los jóvenes? So what I want you to do is spend about 5 minutos answering what are the apparatus, or the machines, I guess, that are more for young people. So all of these are some sort of technology that we have these days, or some used more than others. Some look like the English, like MP3, radio. Others then look nothing like the English, cascos and so on, okay? So work out as many as you can by looking at it. Now, cafetera is not saying a cafeteria, as in like your canteen. Think about what a machine would be like to cafe, okay? So see how many you can put into the Venn diagram before we go over what they mean. Or you could look the rest up on word reference if you want to. Otherwise, unpause once you've tried about 5 minutos on this, and then go over what they mean, okay? Okay, so you've worked out hopefully what some mean, and you've put them into whether they are more for young people, for old people, or for both. So let's go over what these mean then. So we have a washing machine. Lavar is the verb to wash. Now, you probably put that in older, but hopefully some of you know how to use a washing machine. A coffee maker, there we are. Maybe more of us are using that now at home and trying to work all day at computers. A camera, una cámara. A console. Now, there's no right or wrong answer where you've put some of these, because you might think a camera is for old people, you might think some might think it's more for young people, some might think it's for both. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that we're just practicing, having a go at these words, learning what they are, writing them down. Okay. Un portátil is a laptop, so something that is portable. You can carry it with you. You might remember from French that portable is a mobile phone, because it didn't used to be portable, and then you could port it around, you could carry it, okay? Then we have radio, obviously, MP3 player. Don't tend to use those so much anymore, do we, I guess, because we play it from our phones and things. Un móvil, a sat-nav, they call it un tom-tom. We used to call that sometimes, not so much now. A food mixer, una batidora. Some headphones, unos cascos. Metal detector, un detector de metales. Un lavaplatos, again the washing, but this I'm watching plates, okay? Una televisión plasma, and then a record player, okay? So pause now, and if you haven't already after each one, to go back and make sure you have the Spanish and the English for each one in your Venn diagram, so you've got vocabulary. Obviously, we don't need to write the English down for things like una radio, but make sure you have it then for some that don't look so much like the English, like unos cascos. When you're ready to continue, unpause then. Okay, so we're going to jump into now some vocabulary linked to using your phone. So we looked at some words for some technologies, and we're focusing on one technology today in particular, which is móviles. So here are some functions of a phone. So some of these we're going to use quite a lot in today's lesson because they explain how we use our phone, not just a function of a phone, okay? All of these, what kind of form are they in? Enviar, recibir, hacer, utilizar, bloquear, and so on. What kind of form of verb is that? So hopefully you had a think and you have worked out that it's the infinitive. We've got AR, ER or IR on the end. None of those have taken the AR or IR or ER off and added a new ending. So they're all in to something. So what I want you to do is, like we often do, is see how many of these you can work out, okay? So looking at something like escuchar música, what would you do with music on your phone? Grabar videos, what would you do with your phone with the videos? I mean, there are possibly two, but you might already know what one of those is, so therefore process of elimination, okay? So you're not going to know all of these. I think something like bloquear el teclado looks nothing like the English, okay? Just write down all of the Spanish or type out all of the Spanish so that they start to get stuck in our heads, and then put as much of the English as you can, okay? Okay, so let's have a look at these now then. Let's go through them. So enviar y recibir mensajes de texto. Let's have a go as well. I'll say each one, pause it, say it back so that you can practice your pronunciation. So enviar y recibir mensajes de texto. Pause. Okay. That one means send and receive, or to send and to receive text messages. Hacer llamadas. So hopefully you paused and repeated there. Hacer llamadas. So it means to make calls. Don't forget to repeat. Utilizar aplicaciones. So aplicaciones, look, is short, or it's the long version, sorry, of apps, because of applications. So use apps, use applications. Apps is fine though. Bloquear el teclado. So this one is not necessarily something we're going to say that we use for in today's lesson, but it might be vocabulary that comes up, not as an important one to learn though. Lock the keypad. Escuchar música, hopefully you all know that one. Conectar al red. Try that one. Conectar al red. So connect to the web or to the network is what red means. Grabar videos. So try that word again. Try not to say it in a Welsh pronunciation. Videos. Okay. Grabar videos. So it means to record videos. Capturar. So not captura. Capturar imágenes. Capturar imágenes. Take photos. Cargar la batería. So what do you think you'll do with the battery? Charge it, okay? And then pulsar las teclas. Press the buttons. So 4, 9 and 10 aren't as common vocabulary we need to know because they're not something we use our phone specifically for. But just make sure you've got all the Spanish and the English for those before we move on. Okay, what do you notice now about those phrases? Pause and have a think if you need longer. So all of those, I have changed these infinitives to the end. The ending is now to bloquear, es bloqueó, escuchar, escuchó, conectar, conectó. What have I made them into? Hopefully you knew it was the I form. Take off that ending and add an O. There's only one irregular there, hago. Instead of hacer, I do or I make is hago. Okay, you don't need to write those down because not all of them are relevant, like I said, about 4, 9 and 10. We're going to add in a couple of others here, okay? So I want you to think, how many of these phone uses can you guess or remember from what you just did? How do I know they are all I verbs in the present tense? Good, they start with, the verb ends with O, okay? So what I want you to do is try and work out as many as you can without any clues. Then unpause the video so you can have the English muddled up. Pause again, finish working them out, and then unpause to check your answers. So pause now, write down the Spanish and the English. Okay, so here is the English muddled up. Pause, you can have a little longer, and then come back to check them. Okay, so here's the answers then. So most of those we just saw, there's a couple of new ones. So mando correos, I send emails. The verb to send is mandar. I take photos. You can use capturar imágenes or saco fotos, is what they use. But the rest we saw before. They're not new, we're just practicing that iPhone, okay? Right, let's pause before we have a look at more vocabulary because this is a new topic. There's an awful lot of vocabulary today, as in working out the new phrases, writing them down. There's a lot of copying. So let's break that up a little with a reading here and start thinking about people's opinions on technology, okay? So you've got somebody talking about her mobile, Sarah and her mobile. She says, adoro mi móvil, I love my phone. And what I want you to think about is, what is the most important thing she uses her phone for? So more than anything, she uses it for this one thing. Number 2, how she got her phone. 3, some advantages, and 4, some disadvantages. So they all go in order except the first 2. You're going to find how she got it first before the most important thing she uses it for. The others then will go in order, okay? There is a lot of extra detail you do not need to know in this, like who pays her bills, what thing is more cheap or expensive on her phone, but we don't need to know that. We just want to know how she got her phone, the most important thing or the thing she uses it most for, the advantages of having a phone, maybe not necessarily according to her, there's a clue there for you, and the disadvantages of having a phone. Okay, so what I want you to do is see if you can find it in the text and then see if you can work out what it means. So first of all, you've got to try and locate the words in there that refer to it, okay? Then try and work out what it means. So take some time, and then once you need a bit of help, we'll start going through it together. Okay, so let's look then at the most important thing she uses her phone for. Well, actually, we'll jump to number 2 because it comes up first. So she says, I love my phone. Mis padres me lo regalaron por mi cumpleaños. Hopefully you remember the word cumpleaños. What does that mean? Her birthday, good. And we've got the word padres at the start of the sentence. Remember, it doesn't mean her dad's. Her parents, good. Okay, so therefore I could put that together. Even if I don't understand the words here, it is not necessarily preventing me from understanding the sentence. That's what I mean by you need to be selective. Just knowing padres and cumpleaños gives me a clue, and the me there, that it's saying my parents bought it for me for my birthday, gave it to me for my birthday. We don't necessarily need to understand every word. It's not preventing me from understanding the sentence, okay? And then goes on to talk about it having a camera and video. Then she says, más que nada, lo uso. This lo means it. It, I use, you've got the I ending there, para comunicarme con mis amigos. So there's where we find how she uses it. She says, más que nada, more than anything. And we're going to look at this más que later on in today's lesson again, because we have seen it before, and it's really important when we're making comparisons. So more than anything, she uses it to communicate with her friends, okay? And there was number 1. Well, number 2, really, sorry. Okay, she then continues. She says something about mando. So look back in your list you just wrote. What is mando? It's with correos in your list. So pause and find it, okay? So it means I send lots of messages. Porque salen más económicos. So even if I don't understand this bit, you've got more and economic que las llamadas. Pause and find what llamadas is in your list from today. So hopefully you find it means calls. So again, being selective there, I don't need to understand everything. I just know I send lots of messages because more economic than calls, okay? Doesn't matter about that word salen, it doesn't change the meaning of the sentence. I can understand the general drift, okay? Not necessarily an advantage or disadvantage there because it's talking about something on the phone itself being more cheap than another. Sin embargo, mis padres me pagan los gastos de mi móvil. Saying something about her parents there, pagan el móvil. So it's talking about money in the previous one, isn't it? Something being more economic. There mentions about her parents. I can't see a disadvantage here, so I'm going to move on. Just for you to know, it means, however, my parents pay the costs of the phone. Okay. Dicen que se sienten más tranquilos. So I've got a dicen que. What person is an en ending? Look back in your present tense in your grammar books if you need to have a pause. So it means they. It's the they ending. She referred to her parents here. So parents, something about being more calm, having a phone, because, puedo, this is I, something, llamar, look, llamar looks like that, call, para decir es con quién y dónde estoy. Now this is where we need to know our question words. What does quién and dónde mean? See if you can find those question words. So it means who and where. I know they're question words because they have little accents there, okay? So something about her parents being calmer about the phone because I something call them. So Sarah calls them about who and where estoy. What is estoy? Pause. Have a think. I am. So I'm starting now to piece together the information just based on what I know and understand. So anyway, parents are calmer with Sarah having a phone because she can call them. I'm assuming about to say who with and where she is. And a qué hora. So this is another question word. At what hour, at what time she'll arrive home. So that's the advantage there, or the advantage of talking to her parents is that they are calmer because she can tell them who she's with and where and what time she'll arrive home. Then she tells us where the disadvantages are, y las desventajas. Remember to pause if you need time to write things down. I'm going normal speed because I know you can pause where you need to, okay? She tells us the disadvantages come in. She says, veo muy pocas, son bastante caros. Now, can you remember the adjective carro? Los móviles son fáciles de robar. We haven't done the verb robar. What do you think robar might mean? What does it look like in English? So something about robbing and expensive. So mobiles cost a lot and they can be easily robbed or stolen. Okay? Right, so if you really need to go over any vocabulary I've talked about there, or write any extra phrases down you think are useful if you want to use them in your own writing about mobiles, pause or rewind and go back to what you need if you're ready to carry on. Let's jump into the next list of vocabulary, I'm afraid, okay? We're looking specifically now at the internet. So in la red, on the internet or on the web, se puede. This is a really important phrase. It means one can in general. It's that you in general. So en la red se puede, on the internet, you can. So let's have a look at what you can do. Navegar y encontrar sitios interesantes. Now we've got se puede here, you can. You have to have it followed by an infinitive. Because although you're saying one can or you can, whenever you have two verbs together in Spanish, then don't put the second into the same form of the one ending. If you've got two verbs together in Spanish, the second has to be in the infinitive, always, okay? So, se puede navegar, one can, to navigate and to find interesting sites, okay? So write the Spanish down. Now what you can either do is write all the Spanish, then come back and see how much of the English you can remember, or write the English as we go, okay? So on the internet, you only need to write that once, and then a list of things you can do. This means navigate and find interesting sites. Pause and take as long as you need, then let's go on to the next one. Enviar correos electrónicos. We've come across correos already today. So correos is post. So when we say electrónicos, we're saying electric post. In other words, email. Okay, electric mail. And enviar is another way to say send. What was the verb we saw earlier, which means send? Good, well done if you found that it was mandar. So we've learned two ways to say send today. When you're ready, let's go to the next. Hacer las compras. What does ir de compras mean? So ir de compras means to go shopping. Therefore, hacer las compras means to do shopping. Okay, so you can do shopping online. En la red se puede hacer las compras. Ver vídeos divertidos. All words you've done before here. So watch funny videos. Okay? Jugar con juegos en línea. Let's practice that one. Jugar juegos en línea. What do you think this means? It's got play games online. Okay, when you're ready, let's go on. Chatear in Facebook, or we can obviously change that to another. Chatear in whatever form you of social media you chat on. Okay. We can do the same with sending pictures if you want to say enviar imágenes en Instagram, whatever it is. Okay, so chat on Facebook. Descargar música. So we're not talking about escuchar música here. It's descargar. What do you think descargar means? So carga la batería, remember, was charge the battery. Whereas this time I'm not charging it up, I am descargar. If you des before something, it's saying the opposite. So you're bringing it down, therefore downloading rather than loading up. Okay, so downloading music. Leer blogs, so reading blogs. Hablar por Skype or Zoom, I suppose, is more used these days than Skype or Teams. So chatting on, whatever it is. And then hacer investigaciones para los deberes. So to do investigations, or another good translation would be research for homework. Okay, so what was this one? Say the Spanish for me, please. Good, so that would be descargar música. What would this one be? Say the Spanish. Pause if you need longer, but it's hacer las compras. What would this be? So it's hablar por Skype or por Zoom. This one. Leer blogs. This one. Good. Chatear en Facebook. Try and say that in a bit more Spanish way rather than Facebook. Okay, book. Excuse me. Oh, I've gone back up. So, jugar juegos en línea. Play video games online. So hopefully you remember the but sound in that V. It's something you're going to look at if you go into the extension video. Ver videos divertidos. Okay. Send email. So enviar, or you could have said mandar, correos. Well done if you remember to roll your R if you can. Electrónicos. And that's where I put my emphasis. Electrónicos. Okay, before we have a look then at putting this all together in a reading and a writing, let's just have a look at one thing to switch off for a second a bit. So we're looking at sending, how to, como mandar, send un SMS, un texto, sometimes they call it, en español. So how to send a text in Spanish. So I'm just going to teach you a couple of shorthand texts. Speak in Spanish. Any ideas what these might be? I've got an a and then a dos. Think about that. An X, which when you're saying times in Spanish, you say por, so por fa. Okay. That's okay, because sometimes they use okay. This is HL, so the first letters of the words. Then you've got saludos, okay. And something start with B, then S. Okay, so, not necessarily starting with, but shorthand for it. Let's have a look then. Here are the possibilities. So what I want you to do is write down the shorthand and write down the thing you think it goes with, and we'll talk about what they mean in a second. Okay, so adiós, maybe what that means is how they say adiós, to be quick. So goodbye. Porfa is the shorthand of por favor, please. Instead of estás bien, are you okay? They say estás okay. HL for hasta luego, see you later. Saludos, so they use the dos for the dos, the two for the dos. So that is a way of saying like greetings, goodbye, hello, that sort of thing. And then besos, that's how they use for kisses. Okay, so maybe you might want to start using some Spanish shorthand to each other. Right, let's come back to a final reading then, a bit longer than the other we looked at. So there's 4 texts here, okay? What I'd like you to do, we're going to be looking at the gap fill in a moment, and I'm going to give you the words to go in the gaps. What I want you to do first of all is to just read these texts, get a rough idea about what they're saying they use technology for, or what they use the internet for, their computers for and things. Just come across any words you don't know if they're really stopping you understand the meaning. You can maybe look those ones up, but try and limit yourself to looking up, just say 2 words in each box so you're not there forever. We want to get used to more exam technique of can I work out a word from the context. And also because this is a gap fill, if you were doing this in an exam, for example looking at this one, after you've filled in this gap, this sentence here, we actually don't need to understand what it means because it's not going to help us with these gaps, or is unlikely to because it's not included in any of the sentences. Same for potentially this bit. That might be more important because we've got a very short sentence here, so it might be that I need to know part of that is linked to here, might be, but not necessarily, okay? So particularly look at what comes before and after each gap. Just have a little read through to see what you can understand, okay? Okay, so now you've had a little read, you've got a general gist of what each text is about. What I'd like you to do now is to pause again and have a look at the words, or say possible instead of possible there. These are the possible words that would go in each gap. I put them up straight away rather than, but you don't have to look at them. You could pause for a second on this, see if you can fill in the words, see if you can guess some logical words that go in each gap, and then when you're ready, continue back on to this one, and there's the possible options, okay? We'll go through it then when you're ready, okay? Okay, so I've launched you straight in at the deep end here because gap fills are not easy because you have to understand what the words that possible words mean are as well as what's going on in the text. And a really important thing is looking at the grammar and things that come before and after each gap as well, okay? So you've got a couple of things like tengo mi propia, so I have my own something. So therefore, I'm going to need a noun here rather than a verb. Well, at the start of a sentence here, and there's no verb there, so that gives me a clue. I'm going to need a verb. And then I've got lots of plurals, ordenadores portátiles más útiles. So therefore, these are all plural things. I'm going to possibly need a plural verb here, okay? So it's looking at that grammar. We're looking at things, if I know I've got me, and then something, and then a verb, thinking about what opinions I need me with, okay? So let's have a look at A first of all. In my something, siempre paso muchas horas navegando por something. So in my something, always, I spend a lot of hours, we know this is navigating something. So that one's a bit more obvious, isn't it? Navigating the internet or the web. But in her what? What do you think it could be there? So we wouldn't say in my web, in my internet, in my page, in my clothes. None of these are making sense except for en mi casa, in my house. I always spend a lot of hours searching the internet, okay? I have my own something web. So what sort of thing could you have a web of? Couldn't be a web internet or internet web, I've already used that one. Web clothes, web people, none of those are going to make sense. You know what that makes sense is web page, página. Okay, so where I write about my life and my free time. Don't need to know the rest, but it means also I use Facebook a lot to know what my friends are doing. Okay, let's come to 2. Hoy en día mucha something tiene un ordenador portátil. So something has, we should know the verb has, a laptop. In vez something, a computer. And then I'm not sure what this might be. Obviously I know, but I'm modelling for you how you might approach in an exam, okay? So somebody has, I need a person here. Well, the only group of people or person is gente, people. So these days, lots of people have a laptop in place of a computer on your table, so a tabletop computer. Something, los ordenadores portátiles, something more useful. So this bit's a bit easier. Laptops are more useful. So I need are, that's obviously son, okay? And then this part here, you might come back to by process of elimination. So it's actually, I believe that, creo que, I think that, or laptops are more useful. And then this bit we don't need to know, but it means with a laptop, I can watch a DVD when I'm traveling by train or by car. Okay, siempre compro. What verb is compro? Think about ir de compras, hacer las compras. It's got an I on the end. So it means I buy. So I always buy things like, and then he's lists books. And he's talking about eBay. Okay, so what else could you buy if I was looking at here of eBay? The only thing really would be ropa, clothes. I always buy clothes, books, or something second, something. Well, it'll be second hand from eBay. In páginas, something. Well, I've seen página web before, and I've got the word web there, páginas web, on web pages like eBay. In my something, las compras por internet son bastante seguras. So, in my, now we've used house, so it might not be necessarily that in something. He makes a statement here, so he's giving an opinion. Therefore, in my opinion, shopping on the internet is quite safe. Finally, then, me something. So what opinion is me something here? Good, encanta. I love using my computer, and we used this before. I send something electrónicos. So from our list, correos electrónicos, I send emails from my friends. And then we don't need to understand this part, but it means everybody does it these days, including my grandma. The problem is that something, and then she's talking about a lot of junk, and it's about people. So the only word actually that's left is always. Okay, bit of a harder one to fill in there, but if you've done the rest, it means I always receive a lot of junk mail from people who want to send me rubbish. Okay, so we didn't need to understand everything there. That was very tricky, so well done if you've managed to get half of the words, but we will get better and better at those gap fills, okay? Okay, so now you're going to answer the question, what do you do? ¿Qué haces con tu móvil? So you're going to write about what you do with your phone. So I want you to remember, although I'm saying the more you write, the better, what I mean is by adding more, you are more likely to give opinions, reasons, comparisons, rather than just telling me, I use my phone to send text and search the internet. Like, why do you do that? Why? Which one is better? What do you use it more for? And so on. And we're going to look at comparisons in a second. But you might say something like, normalmente envío muchos mensajes de texto con mi móvil y pienso que es más barato que llamar a mis amigos. Sin embargo, mi móvil no tiene una conexión a red, por lo tanto, no me gusta mucho mi móvil porque es bastante viejo. Now, unlikely that any of us are writing what this is written, but it's just an example. It says, normally I send a lot of messages with my phone, and I think that it's more cheap than, that's how we make comparisons, calling my friends. However, my phone does not have, no tiene, a connection to the internet. Therefore, I don't like my phone much because it's quite old. Okay, so let's have a look at comparisons before you answer this question. So in English, we use something called a suffix, something you put on the end of a word. So for example, faster. So if I was at or smaller, louder, the car is faster than the bike. But we can't do that in Spanish. You can't do that to an adjective, okay? We have to do it the long way around. The car is more fast than the bike. We've done this before when we made comparisons with towns. And we talked about law as well, the good thing. You could do that as well, the good thing about my phone, the important thing. We did law with an adjective, if you remember. So this would be the car is more fast than the bike. In other words, the car is faster, okay? So the rule is you get your first thing, is more something than, or menos. Remember, we're either going to use more or less. So here's a couple of others here. Less than, more than, less than, better than, worse than. Or you can make a comparison and say something is equal, sorry. So something like sending text is as than, divertido, fun, as, como, tan divertido como enviar correos electrónicos, sending emails, okay? And there's a couple of adjectives you might want to use. Is something slower, safer, more dangerous, faster, cheaper, and so on, okay? A few ideas in English as well about how you could structure it. So normally I use it for this, and in my opinion, however, saying what you like to do, saying what your mum or dad thinks, okay, or a friend. Can you give an example of what you did last week or next week? And then can you give a comparison, okay? Or even saying, I would like to, or tengo que, I have to. So I'll just go back to the question for you. So if you want to quickly write down the question and pause, what do you do with your phone? Okay, so you should have the question now. Now, what do you do with your phone? And then I'll leave this up. You can pause on here. So the video will end now, but just pause on here to use this to support you with writing your answer, okay? So this video will probably take you over the first hour. And then we're hopefully going to try if you're watching this with year 10 in January 2021, we are probably going to try a live Quizlet live at the start of the second lesson. We'll see how that goes and then come back to finishing this video in the second hour if you haven't. If not, you can start the link I've given to another video, extension video lesson, so you can have a go at that. Okay, muy bien, and hasta luego. It's not letting me in.